Hi everyone, and welcome to the lecture for week 1. We'll be taking a very brief look at information literacy and research this week. The videos I've assigned for the week will go into more detail about what information is as opposed to data or knowledge, and what today's information landscape is like. And they'll also cover the types of sources that you can use in your research, which are also covered by the textbook. So for this lecture component, I'm going to provide some information on what information literacy is and how it relates to the research process. This lecture is divided into 2 parts. This is part 1, so let's get started. Before we look at information, I do want to briefly introduce you to academic libraries and their role on a college campus. You all have public libraries in your towns and cities which provide books and movies and access to computers, the internet, and digital media, as well as gathering spaces for the community. And academic libraries function in very similar ways. College and university libraries provide information literacy instruction for lifelong learning. They also provide a gathering place for everyone in the community by offering a safe and inclusive space on campus. They provide programming and engagement for the students, staff, and faculty on campus. They provide technology and tech support to students and faculty. And of course, they also provide resources for your research. So access to books and ebooks, audiobooks, databases, articles, streaming videos, DVDs, a whole wealth of formats and options are available to you. So a fundamental aspect of academic libraries is helping patrons find information for their academic study. Outside of school, every field and industry in the world requires employees to know how to access and analyze information. It thrives on the information seeking process. So to understand information and the information landscape, make sure to watch the videos on information that I've posted in this week's content folder in Blackboard. But think to yourself what kind of information you seek out on a daily basis. Think about from the time you wake up in the morning through the time you arrive at school, your classwork, also what you do when you go to work in the evenings or when you go home or when you go out on the weekends. What kinds of information on a daily basis are you constantly looking for? And how do you apply it? How do you, where do you go for that information? Do you go to Google every time you need to look something up? Do you ask for advice and opinions from your friends and your family? There's a lot of different ways to look for information out there. So one important skill that you'll be expected to have by your professors and also by your future employers is information literacy. But what does this mean exactly? What is information literacy? It's defined by the Association of College and Research Libraries as a set of abilities requiring individuals to recognize when information is needed and have the ability to locate, evaluate, and use effectively the needed information. So let's just break this down really quickly. The steps of information literacy are, first and foremost, recognizing that you need to find out more information about something. So whether it's a recipe for an apple pie or, all the way through what the most recent findings are about nanotechnology and its use in chemotherapies for cancer patients, whatever your information need might be, whatever the situation is, you should then be able to locate the correct information, the needed information, by navigating the vast profusion of information sources that are available in every imaginable format. This entails understanding what kind of information is needed for whatever the particular situation is. So do you need just sort of general information? Do you need reviews? Do you need scholarly and academic information? Something that's been through the peer review process, which is something that we'll talk about in a later class. Think about the kind of information that you need for that situation. You can then evaluate the information that you find by determining the validity and the relevance of the information, whether it's a credible source and whether the information is useful and trustworthy. So then the final step after you've done this is applying the information that you have found to the situation, whatever that situation might be. So, do you make the apple pie from the recipe that you found? Do you go to the movie or the restaurant or the concert after you've read reviews? Do you try the home remedy? Do you, based on the scholarly articles that you found on nanotechnologies and chemotherapy, do you then go on and write your paper? And also, finally, if you do use that information, do you use it ethically and honestly by citing your sources? So, it's important to remember that every second of every day, people are exchanging ideas on a multitude of platforms. There is a conversation going on, and information is being created and shared in a vast array of formats thanks to the internet. So you can find information, conversations, and exchanges that are taking place on blogs, in forums like Reddit, chats, comments sections on articles, social media, videos on YouTube, podcasts. There's hundreds of podcasts out there, news and TV networks, and online magazines and journals. Scholarly research is also a conversation that's taking place, and researchers, academics, and students are contributing their voices to this conversation that is taking place about a subject in the form of articles, books, conference papers, posters that are presented at poster presentations, all that kind of thing. Think about the most important areas of study that make us healthy, safe, and happy. So medicine, science, economics, psychology, criminology, education, literary studies, the humanities, the arts. What would happen if we lost the previous work of others? Think to yourself, what would happen if your doctor couldn't access what other doctors before her had discovered and written about and published in journals? We'd be in big trouble if we lost the work of others. So fields and subjects in academics are very complex, and different scholars and researchers have different theories, interpretations, contradictions, and conflicting opinions about whatever particular subject they're experts in. And as you learn about your area, you form your own opinions and perspectives. Joining the conversation and adding your perspective requires knowing what has been said before. You can add your voice, but in order to contribute your thoughts and opinions, you need to know what has already been discussed. Where is there room for your thoughts? That's really important to consider. And knowing this requires research, finding the most relevant and reliable information out there so you can make an informed and valuable contribution. So remember this Ghanaian proverb, which I really like, that unless you know your history, you argue blindly. So that's the end of this part 1 of the lecture. Please now watch the second part of this week's lecture. Thank you.